Niceness as a weapon. That's exactly what Ellen DeGeneres mastered over her 19-year reign in daytime television, building a $400 million empire by turning kindness into one of the most sophisticated control mechanisms we've ever seen in entertainment.
That's such a fascinating way to frame it. The way she transformed seemingly innocent positivity into a tool for maintaining power. It's like she wrote the playbook on soft coercion in media.
Well, think about the mechanics of how this worked. When you build a brand worth hundreds of millions on being nice, you create this psychological fortress where criticism literally bounces off. I mean, how do you critique someone who gives away cars to deserving teachers, who dances with their audience? The genius is in making the criticism itself seem mean-spirited.
That reminds me of those segments where she would playfully embarrass audience members who took extra merchandise. It was humiliation wrapped in humour, wasn't it?
Exactly. And here's what made those segments so insidious. They were presented as light entertainment, but they were actually public shaming sessions. The audience would laugh because, well, what else could they do? Ellen had created an environment where not laughing made you the problem.
You know what's really striking about this? The way she used that same technique with celebrity guests. Like that infamous Dakota Johnson interview, it became a turning point because someone finally pushed back against the manipulation.
Oh man, that Dakota Johnson moment was fascinating because it exposed the machinery behind Ellen's persona. When Dakota refused to play along with Ellen's "I wasn't invited" narrative and actually called her out, you could see the mask slip. And what's wild is that moment got over 50 million views across social media platforms.
The way you're describing this makes me think about how she maintained this system behind the scenes. Those workplace allegations that eventually came out, they painted such a different picture.
Let me break down those allegations because they're crucial to understanding the whole system. We had over 36 former employees speaking to BuzzFeed about verbal abuse, racism, and intimidation. But here's what's fascinating. When the first few complaints emerged, they were largely dismissed. Why? Because Ellen had spent nearly 2 decades building what I call an emotional insurance policy with the public.
So essentially, she had created such a powerful brand of niceness that it actually overshadowed reality for years.
Exactly, and let me give you some numbers to show the scale of this influence. At its peak, The Ellen Show was pulling in about 4.2 million viewers per episode, had won 61 Daytime Emmy Awards, and generated roughly $35 million annually for Ellen herself. That's not just success, that's empire-level influence.
The financial stakes must have created enormous pressure to maintain that perfect image, right?
You know, that's such a crucial point. The pressure wasn't just psychological, it was economic. We're talking about a show that generated over $125 million annually in ad revenue. That kind of money creates a system where maintaining the nice facade becomes paramount, because there's simply too much at stake to let it slip.
The way you're laying this out, it's almost like she created a perfect trap. Either play along with the performance of niceness or be labelled as the problem.
And here's what's really interesting about how that trap worked. Studies in workplace psychology show that when a leader maintains a consistently positive persona, employees are actually 23% less likely to report problems or raise concerns. It's like the niceness becomes a form of silencing.
That's making me think about how this extends beyond just Ellen. Like how many other public figures might be using these same techniques.
Well, let's look at the broader landscape. The nice talk show host market is worth approximately $3 billion annually in the US alone. Jimmy Fallon's laugh, James Corden's cheeky mate routine, they're all variations on this theme. But Ellen perfected it to such a degree that her Be Kind merchandise line alone reportedly generated over $5 million in annual revenue.
So in essence, she turned niceness into both a brand and a business model.
Precisely, and what's fascinating is how this model finally began to unravel. It wasn't one big scandal, it was the accumulation of many small cracks in the facade, amplified by social media. When the #RipEllen hashtag started trending in 2020, it generated over 2 million tweets in just 48 hours. The power of a nice brand couldn't withstand the weight of collective testimony.
That really highlights how social media has changed the game for this kind of image manipulation, doesn't it?
You know what's really telling? After the workplace allegations came out, Ellen's viewership dropped by 43% in just 6 months. But here's the kicker. Even as she was losing viewers, her Be Kind subscription boxes were still selling out. That shows just how powerful this manufactured niceness can be, even when we know it's not real.
Looking back now, what do you think is the biggest lesson we can learn from this whole situation?
I think the most crucial takeaway is understanding how power operates in these subtle forms. When someone builds their influence on being nice, we need to look closer, not relax our guard. Because sometimes the most effective form of control isn't the obvious display of power. It's the kind that makes you feel guilty for even questioning it in the first place.
That's really making me rethink how we evaluate public figures and their carefully crafted personas.
And that's exactly what we should be doing. Because in a media landscape where authenticity is increasingly valuable, we need to get better at distinguishing between genuine kindness and weaponized niceness. The Ellen story isn't just about one talk show host. It's about understanding how modern power operates, one smile at a time.